Welcome into the Rodeo Time podcast studio. We've got the one and only Mr. Jason Pelham. Do you like to go by JP more?
Yeah, my family mostly calls me JP or close friends, and then goes from there. So we know how much you know me by what you call me. So
I know you pretty good. That's why I knew to ask that.
That you can do that. Now everybody will be calling me JP, and
Yeah, and you won't know who's friends or
friend or foe. Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Well, that's all right. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
That's right.
That's why I like to date Donnie's mom. Anyway, we were just talking about, you gave me what year was that? You gave me that knife.
Yeah, I don't.
2017, 18. One of those 2 years, I came up and helped you work.
Yeah.
Calves, and stayed the night with you, and which that was cool. That was the first time I'd ever worked any amount of any cattle in a canyon with no fence, no pins, no nothing. That was super neat. But you gave me a knife just like this one, and I kept that on me. I love that knife so much, and I lost it about a year ago. So if let's round up. It was 18. I lost it. I had carried that knife for 6 years.
That's pretty good.
I think it's in my house somewhere, but I had to go order another one just like it.
Yeah,
because I love it so much. It's kind of a fidget for me.
it is. It is. That's the smock, the Spyderco smock is what that is.
I think they call it a flipper.
Yeah,
that
it's got a flipper on it.
Corner that sticks out.
It does. And then you've got a hole in it there, so you can use the hole and flip it with your finger or your thumb, and or you can turn it upside down and shake it. You probably hadn't done
Like that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that trick.
Yeah. Then you can push the button and it'll.
I don't have that trick down.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll work on that later.
Yeah. We'll work on that. And then you just brought me another, which I have figured out.
Yeah.
You had your doubts.
I knew you'd get it eventually.
What is this knife? I mean, it's a box blade, but who made it?
I don't. I get a lot of those from NC Blades out of North Carolina. Brandon and his wife, they come up with all kinds of new stuff and a lot of fun things like that one there. Yeah. They're good. They're fun to play with and fidget, like you say.
Yep.
I'd come out of the post office and just walking down, and there's a corner of the post office, and I'd pull my knife out and popped it to open the envelope, and there's a little grandma standing right there on the corner. I never broke stride. I just went right on by. Good morning. Keep cutting and keep going. You don't want to stop, even though you're scaring her.
Yeah.
With the knife in your hand. So be careful where you open it anyway.
Would you like a ranch fuel?
Oh, you bet. You bet.
So I've got. That's probably one of my favorite flavors.
Yeah. No, we are.
Yeah. Haven't you tried some?
Yeah. We volume buyers. We bought 5 or 6 cases now in Woodward, Oklahoma. Walker's carries them.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I talked to the young guy in there and told him I was buying some, and I'd send you a picture of it. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, right." I said, "Well, I'll go down there, and when I visit with him, I'll tell him we've been getting them." Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure no cowboy like you goes down there and visits Dale all the time. And I'm going, yeah, no.
What's his name?
I didn't. I mean,
he's in Walker's though. Didn't believe you. He doesn't know you by JP.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. But they're good folks, and they've got a lot of. They've got some. That's the only place they're close to us that carries it that I know of. But
yeah, I think you sent me a Snapchat. Are you still in the same place?
No, I moved from down in the canyon. Two years ago in August, I moved out of the canyon, and my son-in-law and I are up in. We have cattle in Texas. We live in the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then we have cattle in Kansas. So we've been ranching up there for a couple of years.
Nice.
And just after I left the Spade, that's when the fire came through. Well, 6 months later it did, but yeah.
So when that big fire got most of the Spade, or most of the country you were working?
Yes, it got all of it. Yeah, it did. There's still not any cattle there now. Most of those, 90% of Roberts County burned, but there's most of the ranches there have restocked with probably half stocked on lots of that. All the rains that's been coming in has been great for them. And I've still got a ranch just to the north of where we were. Is Barry and Suzanne has a place, and they're partners with me, and we run cattle on that one. And we've got 100 head there.
Did that country not bounce back very easily?
Well, it did once it got some rain in there. Then it went to coming, and then they just held off some. But yeah, it's most of the country there is really good.
I went up there a little bit and helped in Dixon Creek and move some stuff around after the fire. And it seemed like that following spring that a lot of it had not been scorched quite as bad as they thought it might have been, and it did recover better than they thought.
Yeah. Some of that fire was going really fast when it went through there, and a lot of the roots on that buffalo and all probably didn't get that hot. There's some fences in there that didn't burn up. I mean, they got hot on the bottom, but the top wires, there wasn't enough grass in some of that country where all the cedars are. The cedars didn't burn.
Right.
I mean, because there wasn't enough grass to burn them up anyway. So,
you ever cross paths with Cutter?
Yeah, he's there in Miami.
McLean?
I was with Cutter. His granddad used to work for the Spades just to the west of us there on the Payne. And when Neil and them moved up there in 2003, Cutter came up there, drug his first calf right there on the Payne, I imagine.
Dang.
Is where he was doing that. His older sister out-ropes him still, but Megan
really
does. Yeah, Megan still out-ropes him.
Really?
Yeah, she's got kids that she's raising, so she kind of backed off on it. But yeah.
Because he might be the ropingest guy that I know.
Yeah. He's been living there for a good while now, or for a while back and forth in different places. But yeah, I don't know. He was 4 or 5 when he first drug a calf over there on the Payne.
Jeez,
his mom and his dad and sisters, and they were all there with his granddad.
I believe it.
Yeah,
probably tied hard and fast too.
Yeah, he probably was.
Cool. So what about when you were 4 or 5?
No,
5 and 6?
4 or 5. I did used to take a shotgun to school, and I'd leave it at the creek and up next to a tree, and then pick it up on the way back home. You get kicked off the bus enough, you get to where you walk to school.
What'd you need the gun for?
Just hunting, just playing.
Yeah, on the way there and on the way home.
Yeah. It's something.
It is the perfect time of year. You go back to school, and you got September, October, November, and then in the spring, that's when you need to be hunting.
Oh, yeah.
They give you the summertime off, which is great. You get to go to the swimming pool, swimming hole, but you don't get to do much hunting. Yeah. Makes sense. Where'd you grow up?
In East Texas, over there, White House, right south of Tyler in East Texas over there. Yeah. And we lived out of town out there in the country, and I got to run and play and dig post holes and fix fence like everybody else did.
Right.
In the iron ore, but yeah, we lived out there. We mostly just played sports all the time. Is what we did: baseball, football, running track. That's what we did. That's what everybody did. And then had some friends there that had cattle, and we'd work some cattle. And I got to where we were working cattle there. But let's see, James Bass and Acker Hanks, they were some of the ones that were there that I started working more and more cattle with. And then from there, I went on up north, up to the Brosico Ranch. Now Lawrence Wingate was there. They probably had.
Where's up north?
That would have been at Mount Pleasant, a little town of Omaha.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, little town of Omaha there.
That's where they used to have the UPRA finals. We'd go every year to the Mount Pleasant, East Texas town.
Yeah, this would just be east of that down there. They had 5,500 head up there. It's a lot of work. You learn a lot real quick.
That's a lot for East Texas.
Yeah. They ran lots of cattle in there.
Golly, they must have had a lot of country.
Yeah, yeah, they do. The white oak and the forks, they'd meet at the Sulphur, and the white oak could meet together. Two creeks, rivers running through there on both sides. The interstate runs through the middle of it, Interstate 30. And you're working 500 calves a week. You're rocking and rolling, and you run the cows through too.
Are they? So my experience over there, I went to school down around College Station, and I lived in that area for 10 years, and ended up running a little place by Franklin, and a lot of yopons and vines. It just seems like the grass is different, the trees are different, the country's different, and so that's kind of what makes East Texas different. And it seems as though the places were smaller, like just on average. When you come across somebody with 50 head of cows, it just takes fewer acres.
You bale hay all summer and put it up, or put it up all summer and put it out all winter. I thought that was the worst thing of all, is hauling hay all summer and then put it out all winter. And then, it's raining and wet in March. So any equipment you have, you're bogged down, you're tearing it up. If you would start in March, April, running cattle around to October, and then sit by the fire through the winter, ride horses, and then start back up in the spring, you wouldn't have all the maintenance through the winter and all the feed and all. I think you'd come out ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could stand to live there. I go there. I just got back from seeing my mom and dad and my rest of my family and friends over there. I got some good friends over there, but I don't want to live there.
Right.
And now they got more people running around there. I can't hardly handle the traffic now.
It grows so much, and it seems like that one of the big things, moving down there, and then starting to rodeo. It was really nice rodeoing in college because all these little towns had a rodeo, but the towns were all 15 miles apart. Whereas you get out here, Archer City, like there's all of a sudden it is 30 or 35 miles before you get to the next town.
Yeah.
And the little town in between, McGargle or what have you, like this town we're in, they're so small that they don't have anything going on. The next time you get around a gas station or people is dang sure 30 miles. But I feel like in East Texas, it's every 15.
Yeah.
My dad had said that the reason towns are that far apart is because that's how long a wagon could travel in a day. And maybe down there, it's because there were so many trees, those wagons had to go slower.
Yeah.
But so as towns grow, I feel like they just kind of grow into each other in East Texas. Like there's just so many people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the city limits butt up.
Yes,
with
sir.
there's nothing in between them. Tyler and White House, same city limit sign.
Tyler has exploded, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even go through it. They got an outside loop.
Yes.
49 or whatever it is. And I
toll
go around,
road.
Yeah, I go around it every time.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay and go around than go through the traffic. I don't.
We go over there for meetings with Cavenders. We keep some apparel in Cavenders, and it's nice. You get to go eat somewhere, but that's where their headquarters is.
Yeah. Jamie Lou?
Jamie Lou.
Yeah.
I don't guess so.
Used to be coach. Jamie Lou coach. She run lots of stuff for the Cavender brothers.
Gotcha.
Yeah. She lived next to me down there. She was one of the first ones to rode. I'd get on the donkeys and she'd whoop them.
Oh,
and
cool.
let them run off, and that's how we started.
That's funny.
Riding, playing, but yeah, she run a lot of Cavender stuff for their supply.
So, what is it about growing up there that do you feel like helped lay the foundation of your cowboy way of life? Or did it?
Yeah, I wanted to get out of there so bad. I mean, when I finally went out to Alpine, a buddy of mine playing baseball out at Alpine, and I went to Alpine. Mm-hmm. And I'd sit out there on the rock wall watching. They had some balloons, whatnot, races or something. They had some balloons there. Anyway, I sat out there on the wall, and I'm going, why in the world? And I'd never seen that far in my life anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm going, why would I live anywhere except out here?
Yeah. What do you mean balloons?
They had hot air balloons. They had, I don't know why they had them there. They have the races somewhere else, but they had them there floating around the school out there. But I can just remember that. Heck, I wasn't but 18, but.
So that didn't have anything to do with the cowboy.
No, it didn't have anything to do with cowboying.
They just happened to be there.
Yeah, they just happened to be there.
So there I was on the wagon and a hot air balloon.
Floating by. Well, that happened, I think that's Bill Fennessy in Borden County. He was walking to the barn, and a guy said, hello. And he looked around at his dog and kept walking, and next thing, hello down there. And Bill looks up, and it's a guy coming down. I don't remember if he was in a parachute or one of those little motors or whatever. I always thought, dang, it's lucky it wasn't anybody else. They would have been a horseback. That would have been good.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, but.
Yeah. So you're out in Alpine sitting on a rock wall watching hot air balloons, and you decide.
I decided then I was not. I could have stayed out there and played baseball with Sulcer. And I said, man, I'm tired of playing games. I played enough football and baseball, and I'd already started roping some. And I thought, I am going to do something else.
Yeah.
I've done this all my life, so I was ready to go from there. So that's what I started team roping with some guys, and then I found out about a job up there at Brosico, and I went up there and interviewed for it and took off from there. And I got to learn a lot up there, which when you're working 500 calves a week up there.
Where was that?
At Brosico. They were right there in Omaha. You're stripping cows and calves. You're stripping cows and calves down the alley, a horseback. Everything was done. Lawrence did everything a horseback. And then you'd run except the calves, which you only got 5, 6 guys. It's hard to work 500 head a week with 5 or 6 guys, horseback dragging calves. So anyway, they run them through the calf table. Preferred bring calf tables over and set them up, let us test them out. We'd tell them different things to do on them, change them up. But you could still run calves through there every 20 seconds.
Main thing you need to change on this calf table is its location. Put it over there
outside the fence.
Scrapyard.
Well, at that time, I had never seen anybody drag calves.
Yes, sir.
No,
I get it.
Yeah, and then when I left there, I went up on the Red River. We were it was a family deal, and we were taking care of some King Ranch cows up there. Well, they still didn't know anything about dragging calves. So you got in there in a round pen and you roped one by the neck and you held it, and I went down the rope and flanked it. Then they came over and worked him.
Dang.
Yeah. You do 1,200 of those, you'll start thinking so I knew how to flank calves. I could flank calves, didn't matter. And anyway, I was leaving, and a job came open in Borden County, and I went out there, and I ended up getting a job out there, and it's mostly cow-calf deal. They had some registered cattle in the spring and fall, and then run yearlings in there. And
what ranch was that?
That's the Rocker Ranch right there.
Where's Borden County?
Gale, Texas. Other side of Snyder. Yeah.
30. Mesa.
Yeah. And back. It's right in the middle of the world. You got Lamesa on the west, Post on the north side, Snyder.
Do you know Wendell Culp?
Yeah. He was at the Indian Canyon when I was out there.
He's still there.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I just had him on the podcast. Him and my dad were best friends growing up.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, they both picked up at Charlie Thompson's together, CBRT, and
he was putting on some trippings up there. Is what
Wendell was.
Yeah. He was at that ranch. He put on some trippings up there. Some of the spade hands went up there and they'd trip up there, and I think, but yeah.
Anyway, Gale, very
Wendell,
small part of the world.
Yeah, Wendell, they called me one time, the WRCA called me one time. They said, do you know who this guy is? We've been asking people, do you know who he is? And I said, yeah. Cal had jumped up in the stands at the finals. They messed her and she jumped up in the stands, was in the stands, and Wendell went over and mugged the cow. and bounced her down the alley. And then they put her down one row and got her and said, we want to get him box seats. And I said, that's Wendell Culp. He's out of Borden County.
Yeah.
Get a hold of him. We got a number for him. They called him. And anyway, but that was Wendell that mugged the cow.
I didn't
up
know
in the
that.
stands.
I haven't heard that story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He, my dad, they called him Stretch when they were rodeoing. 'Cause he was so tall and reach out there and trip a flank, grab a bareback rider or whatever he needed to do. Really good pickup, man. Really good cowboy. But
I think a horse went down with him. I don't know if he was riding it or he was picking up, but a horse went down with him, and he went right over the saddle horn, running, and never broke stride. Come around, he's athletic. Yeah, he was, yeah, Wendell.
So you, how long were you there in Gale?
I was there 10 years.
Oh, nice.
Gale. Yeah. I worked for the Rocker Ranch, and then the Mule Shoe Ranch. They had the OBs as another 50 sections there, and the Mule Shoes 50, and then they leased 30 sections from the Rocker Ranch. Steve White, Guy Miller were there, and I got to work with them a lot. And then the Morehouses were there on the south end. Mike Stevens worked for the Morehouses, and he leased the country, and Tom brought the cattle down. Mike went to school with them out at Soul Ross. So anyway, they were all right there. And then they had some others around there. Kent Youngblood, he would be back towards La Mesa. He would be I think he was Rookie of the Year in 1972 or so. But he roped out there. I tell you, he brought a couple of boys to the arena one year. We used to have a little roping club. We had it, and I had a place there to put roping steers. We'd go over and get the roping steers and bring them over. And he called me, asked me if he could bring these two kids that he was helping. I said, oh yeah, bring them on. Yeah, they're 8, 10 years old. He brings them, and we drive the cattle in there, and we put them in the back. And here comes these two boys riding around in the arena, and they come riding down there. Now, you have to remember, I'm 30 years old. They ride up to me, and I said, how are you two boys doing? He says, oh, man, if you're waiting on us, you're backing up. And I said, is that right? And I was the youngest guy there.
Right.
I said, well, y'all get on in here and take the steers down, and we'll wrap them, and then y'all can get started. So they come around, and they started down the alley, and I pulled out my bullwhip, and I got in behind them, and I went to cracking them in the tail. The horses running over the steers and running out. Kent's down there, he's just screaming, those are my good horses, quit cracking. Those two got in at the end, they jumped off. So who do you think those guys? Well, those two kids, and I was telling the story, well, that evening after we roped, we took the steers back that in the dark. We come back, and there was a day hand that was there, and he was trying to catch his dog, take his dog home with him, and he couldn't catch him. So those two boys roped his dog, handed him the rope. He started out there, and the dog heeled his horse, bucked him off. He had some great big spurs. He landed on one, and I mean landed, cut him bad. We get there, and those two boys come running out telling us about it. We got over, we laid him across the bed of the pickup, took him down to his house. His wife was a nurse. She took him to the hospital, and they sewed him up. And I was telling that story, and I was at the camp up there in the canyon outside of Turkey. I was working for the Spades. That's 10 years later. I was telling that story to the guy. And this big kid sitting next to me, he said, yeah, and this kid's 6'3", big kid. He said, yeah, I was there. I was the one that roped that dog. And I said, the hell you were? And he goes, yeah, I was. That was Andy Paul and JoJo Lamont was the two kids.
Hey, Andy Paul Jones?
Yeah, Andy Paul. So AP, I got the phone. I didn't believe him. I got the phone out and called Kent Youngblood, and he said, yeah, that's him.
That's hilarious.
I said, why? You had to call me at midnight to ask me that? I said, well, we're sitting here talking. I couldn't sleep without asking you. I'd have just knew he was lying to me. I mean, he was a little bitty kid then.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, the stories you didn't ever hear, that's where that come from. That's Andy Paul, he was, yeah.
We had JoJo on.
Yeah, I knew you did. That's what reminded me.
Ago, and I need to have AP on.
Yeah. I got to work with AP. I don't know, he was 18 or 20 then. and they had a crew of a dozen of them. I was 36 when I went to work for the Spades. I'd get over and we'd get ready to brand. They'd come over and they'd say, Mr. Pelum, you want to brand today? And I'm going, what? I mean, we usually let the oldest man brand over here. I was 36.
Dang.
I just come from down at Borden County where I was the youngest.
Right.
And I was flanking all day, every day, you know.
That's
and now,
hilarious.
Yeah, then swap up there now. There I am branding now. I'm the old man in there. So, but yeah, that was part of my crew. So you know how good it was with Andy Paul there.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Where'd you go when you went to the Spades at 36?
I went to Matador. North of Matador is is the Turtle Hole, and I was there for. I left the Rocker Ranch and went up here in the Panhandle, up by Follette, and I was day working, taking care of wheat pasture cattle, and then went to work for Gossett's. They just ran lots of yearlings. So I got 14 circles to take care of, and just rope and doctor all day till your shoulder wore out. And then I'd had about enough of that one, and I called the Spades, and they hired me. And Mike Stevens went to Tucumcari, and I went to Matador. After I moved down there, 2 months later, they leased the deal in Canadian. So I got to turn around and go back. I moved back to Canadian. And then I was there for 21 years. I was at Canadian for the Spades. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great place. It is. I mean, you're at the R.W. Hampton has a song about the Canadian River breaks. Oh, man, that's exactly what it is. I don't know if he sat down there on the Cap Rock with me, but I still get to go down there, and Barry and Suzanne, they still have some country where the river runs through it. Jimmy Don's on the other side. And then you just get back in those Cap Rocks. You can sit up there all day and you up there at night, it's really good. You know, at night you get to see lots of stuff. And down on the river, we were working down there. I don't know if you ever met Big John Wilson.
No, sir.
That'd be Rodeo Wilson's dad.
Okay.
Big John, greatest guy you'd want to ride with. I mean, he was good. And we got down the river. Well, he's a little nervous being in the river. His brother-in-law is Jimmy Don Nicholson. They're on the other side of the river from me. And Jimmy Don and I had some cattle down there in the river. I told him, I said, I'll cross the river, come around. And Big John says, I want to go with you. I said, Big John, we got to cross the river. You can't swim. He goes, I'm going with you. I said, all right. So we took off down, and we got to the river, stopped at the river, and I rode up and down the river, looking at the river. And I said, Big John, get your rope down. I said, I'm going to run jump out in the river. If I go down, rope my horse, get my horse out and off of me, and I'll swim on across. And he's, are you kidding me? And I said, no, just get ready. So I swung out around, and I come running by him, jumped my horse out there, and he landed in the water, and the water's about 1.5 feet deep. And I said, oh, heck, it's all right. Come on in. Big John, I mean, he's always questioning anything you do. But, yeah, you could ride. Most of the time you can ride across the river. You just don't want to stay in one spot very long. You'll start sinking in the sand.
Bet.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll lose a pickup in there.
Oh, man, I imagine.
But, yeah, it's some great country up and down the river in there. Yeah, during the drought of 11 and 12, we still had cattle down in there grazing. They're doing good. But
yeah, we played y'all in high school my senior year, and golly, I was quarterback, and I was like, man, this is our year. We're going to do it. And you guys were, I think, 3A, and we were 1A.
Yeah.
Something like that. Y'all had a big defensive end that was also the running back named Austin English.
Yep. Big Austin, yeah.
He was a lot bigger than me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, he also was on the track team. He was on one leg on the 400.
He went and played for OU after that. But yeah. I was a quarterback and linebacker, and he was the defensive end and the running back. So both directions. we we were both playing both sides of the ball, and he did mop the floor with us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was a sad sight.
He ended up going to West Point. That's where he played.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah. He's
I thought he went to OU.
Yeah. Well, they probably tried to get him, but
Yeah.
he ended up West Point, and he's went into the Rangers and went on from there.
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
never seen a big guy and watching track. My daughter was, my daughters were right there, same age, so I got to see him a lot. And I'd never seen a big kid that big run that fast on the race, on the track running the relays.
Yeah, that was wild.
He could run. He
Yep.
could.
Yeah. So you were at the up there for 21 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it so is that's just 3 different places. That's a pretty. You went to Omaha,
Yeah.
then you went to Gale.
Well, I went to Omaha, then I went up on the river. I was at Omaha for a year and a half. I went up on the river for about a year, Red River for about a year, and then I went out to Borden County, and I was there 10 years, and then I spent about a year up there at Follette on the wheat circles. Then I went with a spade. But yeah, when you figure for the most part, Borden County and with the spades, there's 10 years. I worked with spade hands. I got 21 years with the spades, but I was neighbor with them for 10, so that ought to be 31.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I got to work a lot with them. The Welches, John Welch and Wesley runs the spades now. You know Wesley, and John was running it then. We got to go. I went with John and the Tongue River. John and I were the 2 spade hands. And then the Tongue River, we went north. We started in Alpine, Marfa, went to Montana, all in one spring. So that's what I would tell them. I went with John from Marfa to Montana, and we had Charlie cooking for us all the way up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and Peter Robbins was there taking pictures and whatnot and going along the way, and we had some others that were there, but we went all the way up, made the big circle that year. Then in the fall, John and I went up, gathered stuff, and brought back down. But yeah, lots of good stuff with them. And Buster used to send some cattle to us, keep some cattle with us out there. And Buster had...
Frierson?
No, Buster Welch. Buster sent some to us. He sent some heifers up there to me, and then he had 10 older cows with him.
Talking about Welch's already.
Yeah.
You probably hung around all 3 Busters. The Buster Welch, Buster McClowry, and Buster Frierson.
I've been around Buster. Well, I've been around the other some, but I've known Buster Frierson a long time. Yeah, and we've been at the rodeos together.
That's what made me suggest his name.
Yeah, we didn't get to Cowboy much together. You know, he doesn't come north, and I don't come too far south. So
you get, because it's getting closer to East Texas.
That's
and
right.
You get nervous.
Yeah, I get nervous when I get down in here.
Can't.
Yeah, but yeah, Buster had some older cows, and Buster wants you to work cattle like he wants you to work them, and sorting cattle out. He had a brand system that he did. Anyway, he'd call me every Sunday morning at 8:00. He'd call me, want to know how the cattle are doing. So Sunday morning, I'd go up, get to the windmill, and all the cattle would be there bawling, and I'd wait for him to call. I'd answer the phone. Cattle would be bawling. He'd hear me. I said, "Oh, I'm right in about it now, Buster. They're doing good." And he told John, he goes, "I don't know, that boy's in my cattle a lot. I mean, every Sunday morning I call, he's right there in those cattle." I said, "Yeah, right here with him." He wanted us to cut 10 cows out of his heifers, 10 pairs out, told us what to look for on their brand and whatnot. Now, Jason, hold them up out there. There's just 2 of just Neil and I. Just hold them up out there, and don't cut off the ends. Cut them out in the middle. Don't get them next to the fence. He gave us all these. I said, okay. He called back a couple of days. What did you get those cows cut out of there, those pairs? I said, I did. Do you have any trouble? I said, I don't know. Hell, we just took them to the pen, stripped the calves off, waited till morning. They're bawling. Hell, we cut them out easy then. Nothing but silence on the phone then. You know, he didn't say a word. And I said, Buster, I'm kidding you. I'm kidding you. I said, what you forgot is those older cows had a brand on their hock. So they were easy, and we just cut them out in the pasture. We never even had to bunch them up. Oh, gosh. That's so good, Jason. I'm so glad we did that. But he wrote me a letter. He sent me a letter after we shipped his cattle out and wrote me a letter telling thank you and all. So, yeah, I've got it at the house for Neil and I both. I guess I need to make a copy and send it to Neil because Neil and I both took care of them.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's cool. Where do you feel like you really learned the most?
I tell you, and I didn't think about it at the time, and you learn a lot from watching guys, you know, and a lot of these young guys, if they just
watch Dale Brisby.
Yeah, I mean, if they'd watch Dale Brisby, it'd be great. But I've heard Tom say it more than once. He doesn't know whether, when you tell him to ride up, he doesn't know whether that's his underwear or his horse. You know, he didn't know what ride up meant, the other guy that we were talking about. And you could watch those guys, and you could. Mike Stevens, one I worked with more over there, and Mike was really good. And then the Spade hands that were over there at the mule shoe, we got to watch them and work cattle with them. And we worked lots of it outside, you know, holding them up and cutting out of the herd and whatnot. But, you know, when you're there by yourself and there's no one else, I used to take, 30 pair first calving heifers, and I'd bunch them up with my dogs. And then I'd go in them, and I'd rope a calf and tie him, and then I'd work the calf. And I got to doing that, and I did the whole bunch that way. Then we got bring them in. But when you start working cattle by yourself, if you go too fast, you're going to know when it's too late, you know, and you got to know when to push and when not to. And
slow down, we're in a hurry.
Yeah, that's right. And Bud Williams came out he called me, and I didn't know who Bud Williams was. And I called and talked to Roy Wilson at that time, and he said, he's coming to the house. I said, yeah, he's coming to look at the dogs and work some cattle with us. Now, it'd probably been better if I hadn't known that. It made me nervous then. You know, he'd show up, and we got out there, and I had about 50 spade cows out there on a wheat field, and I turned some dogs out. Had them out there, wadding them up, moving them around, and I got out there afoot. I didn't bring a horse, and I got out there afoot and went to moving them around, and he was watching the dogs work. Him and his wife was there with him, his wife videoing a lot of it, and I'm fetching them around, so I'm just walking, and the cattle are following me around everywhere. Well, some of these spade heifers were open. These were open cows, and a few of them decided to mow me down, and they ran right over the top of me and run off.
Dang.
And few dogs went after them, got them cornered up down there and circled them around. Vaughn Kennemer was there working dogs with me, and he sent a couple of his dogs out there to hold the bunch up. And then I started walking to those others. They brought the other cattle back, and they get close to me. Well, now they start coming to me, fixing to mow me down again, and I'd just lay down on the ground. Cattle would run by me. I'd get up, I'd have grass burrs, you know, covered in me. I'd get up picking grass burrs out of me and the dogs both. Anyway, Bud got a big kick out of that, but he'd get out there with you and walk along with you, and he would say, what are you thinking about when you're out here? And I'm going, Bud, I'm just a cowpuncher.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking a whole lot except wad them up, and when they get where they're handling them, take them to the pens. He said, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
He said, you hadn't given them any commands. You hadn't told them what to do. Those dogs have got 200 years of cow in them. Mm-hmm. They got more cow than you do, apparently. So you just got to figure out when to work and when not to, and I'd get over there with them, and they'd bunch stuff up, and then I'd walk away from them, and they'd bring them to me, or, we'd fetch them down. But he always said, if a cow gets out of a walk and she's in a trot, she's out of control. That's why the dogs shut them down. Every time cattle start trotting, the dog wants to come to the front and shut him down, unless you've trained him not to stay on the back. But they know, the dog knows when the cow's out of control and shuts him down and makes him walk. And you're sitting there going, let's hurry up and get to the pen. They're going to the pen. Let's hurry up and get there. And that's not the right way of doing it. You need to keep them under control all the way there. Even though you want to crack them in the tail with the bullwhip and get them on down there. I mean, they're running to the pen, let them go. No, that's not what you want to do. You want to have them under control. They'll walk in there.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And that's when you start doing that, and then you're out there by yourself and you're gathering up 100 cows by yourself, and you're moving them, and you're going, well, then you start cheating as far as a bullwhip is a really good tool in the right hands, and it can be a really bad one in the other hands. But, sometimes you need to make a bluff and think that there's more people out there. When you start cracking that bullwhip and swinging it, and you remember, you're by yourself. There's not anybody else there to help you. You get over and start pushing on a cow, and you push on this, and you can scream and holler, and they all just sit there and look at you. But when you can swing, I put a new popper on a whip, and it'll make more noise. So you'll helicopter it and just sit there and swing it, and it'll make a different noise. Well, they'll start moving off of it. Now, you're not saying anything. You're just there, and you'll swing that thing, and everything will start moving. If you give them a little time, then they'll start lining out. And at the Spades over there, I could get them started. I did everything to the windmill. And then from the windmill, let them get a drink. Let them sit there. Then start with them, and they'd trail all the way up the hill and over the top of the hill and up the canyon. And you can get them doing that. And you go, how do you get them over there by yourself? Well, I just put some pressure on them in certain places and let them line out. And they did. But you learn that by making enough mistakes.
Right.
And I made more mistakes than most people ever have.
Spending some time in East Texas, though, that would be that's the most I've seen people work with dogs.
Yeah, but they went to moving out from there. We, you use lots of cur dogs in East Texas to bunch cattle up. And if you get out west using cur dogs and leopard dogs, you'd bunch them up. Well, now you still got 5 miles.
Right.
So I would take, and I bought some from Mike Sailors. He had some that was crossed with Catahoula and Kelpie. So you could turn them loose, and they'd go find cattle. They had a good nose on them. They'd go find cattle and bunch them up. When you got there, call them back to you, and they'd get on the back with you. And you could drive cattle for miles. You keep the dogs back there. Now, it works better if you had cows and calves. You could bunch them up and then get up front, and you'd have your dogs up there. So the cow with a calf can see you up there with the dogs, and then have another guy trotting behind. If they start scattering, you just sick the dogs again. And then we went from that kind of cross to the cattle master. Roy Wilson and I started a breed of dogs called a cattle master. We took a Kelpie female, and she had a quarter bulldog in her and 3/4 Kelpie. And he had a really good border collie male dog, and we bred them. And those dogs, one right after another, you'd get a whole litter that was really good. So if you got a 3-way cross, it's like the Beefmasters, and they were running Beefmasters there in Borden County. But Lori Laster, I talked to him, he had Beefmaster, and he said with a 3-way cross, they're not ever going to match up too close. So you can breed a granddad to a granddaughter, and you can keep piling those genes up, and it'll get better and better. If you start breeding outside dogs, you don't know what you're putting in there. So you keep them closer. And then you'd have a cattle master, and you could breed her to a border collie, and you'd end up, the trials they have at Nacogdoches, they'd have trials there. They have novice trials, and at that time, I never went to the trials or anything. I had more than enough to do besides trial dogs. But they'd take border collie and breed them to a cattle master female. And the top 10 dogs, out of 100 of them, the top 10 would be, 7 of them would be cattle master crosses. And they do it over and over. And different trainers would have them, and they'd win 1, 2, 3. But those dogs outside, you could take those dogs with you, and they're short-haired, so they could take the heat. And they worked really good for a ranch dog. They were tough enough. They'd walk up in there and grab one and chew on them, and then they'd let off and they'd back out. And that's why when Bud Williams come looking, that's what he was looking for. And I told Bud, I said, take them and try them. I mean, some of them look more like a border collie, and you'd think they were just a slick-haired border collie.
Yeah.
But you get to work in those dogs, you'll find out more. But those people, when you've got lots of brush, you need to bunch them up, or even all the mesquite out west. They had Tom and them had some guys out there with all that mesquite, and they'd bunch them up, bunch yearlings up, and then move them out. And the Wagners would use them out there, getting them off the wheat field, the big yearlings, and they'd run border collies there.
What was the line between, or what is the line for you between, like, it's time to work dogs and no, we just need to use cowboys?
If you've got a crew, you don't need to take any dogs.
Right.
I don't. You don't need everybody talking to your dog. Your dog's trying to work, and the dog will be running in front of them and circling up, and people don't know where to go and what to do with a dog. Now, if you got some guys that know more about dogs, then they can work with them. But a lot of times I left the dogs I didn't take dogs with me every day. When I was with a crew, we never took them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just a horseback. I'd go back later and I'd gather cattle, or on the rocker, I'd go over there ahead of time and gather the dilly honey, 120 pair, and put them in the trap.
What about the bullwhip? What's the line of when to use it and when not?
Well, you know how it depends on whether you're cracking it at the punchers for them to slow down, or you're cracking it at the cattle to move up. But I used it a lot for bulls, but now we're using it on cattle, especially, the Angus cattle have gotten gentle enough, and riding up close to them and beating on them doesn't do any good. You know what? I mean, that's not, if you can sit back and make a little noise and crack a little bit, and you're making a little noise to keep them moving. I used it a lot on the bulls. With a bull, if you need to change a bull and get a bull pinned, you can get out there and you can crack the bull whip, then you can shoot him with a paintball gun. And a bull will sit there and go through cattle, and he will blow. And one bull at another bull, they'll blow. They're blowing. So I'll start blowing first. And the bull will usually turn sideways to you. And I'll stop, and I'll sit there, and I'll blow at him. And I'll blow, and then I'll crack the bull whip. So then I'll blow, crack the bull whip, shoot him with a paintball gun. And I'm telling you, they'll learn just as quick as you will. If you were out there and I blew, you knew what's coming next. And, we used rat shot and shotgun back in the day, but quit using that years ago when the lead would get in them, and we used paintball gun. And the paintball gun, to me, works even better, than anything else. But it's giving them those cues just like you would your horse. And when you start doing that, I'd go over and gather 50 bulls, bring them across the Highway 180, bring them across there and pin them, and do it that way. But you need to be able to give them the cues. Same thing with the dog. Walk the dog up, and you can put pressure on him, but you need to be able to take the pressure off to get them to back out. And it's just another tool. That's why I tell those guys now, they go unarmed all the time to work cattle. You're sitting there, and the next thing you know, a guy's got a cedar stay and run up there whacking on one. You take a bullwhip, you can pull it down and crack one. I had a guy went to Australia, broke dog, Jared, and he brought us back some Australian whips. I'll have him bring you one next time so you can, and it'll be shorter. I got some that are longer that won't fit you as good, but the shorter ones
are a lot easier to pop.
Yeah, and it'll work good for you. It'll be 7 foot, and then you can get out there on your cattle and you can find out.
My granddad and my dad taught me how to pop one.
Yeah,
and it's fun to pop them. But when I was a kid, my dad was preached not to make noise in the back, and, but, now that he's gone and I help. So he talked about one time at the pitchfork, some guys in the back were kind of hollering, trying to get those cattle. And I don't remember who the wagon boss was, but every time they would holler, he would pull out front and stop the herd.
Yeah.
And wait till they stop hollering. And then he'd let them go. Then they'd holler again, he'd pull out and stop the herd. But basically, like, cows in the front go to trotting, leave the calves. Now they're turning back.
Yeah.
And, but over the last few years, several years that I've been helping some guys, you know, you get a lot of people that are frustrated, cowpunchers, frustrated with black cattle and how gentle and slow they are. And it's kind of been my experience has been that a lot of people in the back are now okay with, and I just got to thinking that in his day at the pitchfork, it was just a ton of Mavericks. And then, or even the gentle cows were Herefords. And over at the Sixes, they were Herefords. And I'm just wondering if maybe the cows haven't changed so much that rule is a little less strict now, you know.
Well, and, you know, if you're wanting a cow to move, you want to push on her hip.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you straight behind. You want you to
Right.
push on the hip. Well, when you've got 250 cows, it's hard. But when you ride to a cow, you'll want to push on her hip to push her forward. And you're wanting to move them along there. And then if you want to shut her down, then you're going to ride to the shoulder and shut one down or slow them down some. But everybody's in too big a hurry. And that's what lots and lots of guys. And we used an example was a guy sat there and looked at his watch and he goes, hey, we've got 30 minutes. So now all of a sudden you've got a time limit on the cows of how soon they have to get to the pens just like they're supposed to. And that doesn't work. You need to be able to work cattle. And I use Bud as an example. They had an awards banquet for him. And guess what? He was late getting there because he was moving cattle and he was also using a young dog that he wouldn't pull off until it was ready, until the cattle were settled. But he's driving cattle and he's letting them go. And you think, well, that's him. He used to gather reindeer and move them to the other side of the range for these folks.
Mm-hmm.
He'd go to Yellowstone and get a grizzly bear with her 2 cubs with a ski mobile, whatever you call it, and get them out of camp. He went to an island. I asked him about going to the island. I don't know where it is, but they want to get all the cattle off the island. So he goes to the island. Well, there's nothing. He's got his dogs and he's afoot. So he bought a Honda 50, came in a box. He put it together and got on a cow trail and went down the cow trail on a Honda 50. And he would find cattle, bunch them up, work cattle. He called them, and they showed up in one of those big hovercrafts, you know, with the big air, you know, they're as loud as can be. He had the cattle sitting on the beach. He took them down there, put them on the hovercraft. There's too many cattle. He took them back down on the beach, took them at half of them, put on there, waited for the other one to come. Now, you think about how you would do that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have no idea.
And he had, how a rancher asked him to come gather some they couldn't gather. He showed up there. The cowboys wouldn't let him have a horse. He went out there afoot, brought the cattle in. All the cowboys set up on the fence. He took it, cows right past them, put them in the pens.
Yeah.
And there they are. You know, there's a time to sure enough get in there and get after, and there's a time you need to slow down. But everybody goes with I don't have a watch. I don't have a clock in my house. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the downfalls you have is everybody's on a time that they need to hurry up and get the cattle penned or they need to do this or that. And
yeah, that's what Derek Begay said about my trip out in Arizona. He said, everybody's so busy. This kind of lifestyle is not for someone who's busy.
If you can sit up there like he does and sit there and watch with binoculars, they're going, hey, we got to go get the cat. No, you just sit here and you'll watch. And before long, there'll be one. And you go, oh, there's one. Let's go get him. Well, there's 10 more behind him.
You bet.
You just got to wait for them to get out of the shade and come down there.
So I guess my question is, do you feel overall, as a rule of thumb, that kind of rule has changed when it comes to making a little noise in the back because the cattle have changed.
Well,
Has that changed at all, or is it more just play by play?
Yeah,
Sometimes you don't yell at all.
I don't think you can handle. I mean, when I hate the hollering is when we're working cattle out of the barrel and down the snake and into the chute. That screaming and hollering back there. I mean, I'll shoot the paintball gun back there. I can't stand it.
Yes, sir.
And those cattle, if you'll sit back there, I used to put Jack Quiet over there. He would sit on his horse and tap on the barrel gate with a stick, and he would load cattle faster than three of you did.
My rule for me personally has always been, since my dad preached that I'm not going to yell until the boss does.
Yeah.
And so I just, depending on where I'm at, like I'm usually going to keep my mouth shut unless if the wagon boss or somebody, a camper that's been there a long time, that is just by respect, he's the boss. If they start making noise, I'm going to immediately, like if you watch, if he's being quiet and I'm being quiet, and then just immediately when he starts hollering at a cow, I'm going to holler with him.
Yeah. Well, and I know we were pushing calves more than once up through there, and you're afoot with a whole bunch of little calves, and guys are just barely going along, not doing much. You're going, hey, come on.
Yeah.
Get up in there. Let's go.
Right.
You guys are waiting on a calf, and they don't know where to go. They're just going to stand there. Get in the corner, make the circle, make them figure out.
Right.
And that's a different deal. But when you're with those cows,
there's always exceptions.
Yeah, yeah. And if you went farther east and south and got into some Brangus cows and you went to hollering, you don't have a tall enough fence. I mean, those cattle will lay stuff down.
Yeah.
And same thing with those crossbred cattle or the Beefmaster. When we had them, all you had to do is show up and be riding and sliding and spinning. And every one of them, the King Ranch cows, when they sent the Gerts to us, you'd start gathering the pasture and throwing cattle to a corner, and they would come from behind you and pass you, going to the bunch. And then when they got in the bunch, they'd all circle around, and then they'd face up with you.
Yes, sir.
Then they'd start coming out to you. Now, if you were screaming and hollering, there's no telling what they'd tear up then.
Yes, sir.
So I think it's different cattle. But I know those black cattle have gotten really gentle. But I think you can still, if they've got a place to go and you can string them out. But, if that front end's running off, all I'm always saying is those calves are on the back and they're looking for their mom in the back pasture.
Yes, sir.
And until you've spilt 100 cows and all the cows are still chasing a feed pickup and you got calves going the other way.
Right.
And the feed pickup guy is still going, and I'm going, man.
Helpless feeling. Yeah.
There's no way to fix that. You've got to kill that pickup and let it sit there or barely move along, because all those calves on the back will sure enough go back.
Yes, sir.
And I think you got to work with it. But I'm like you. I mean, there's times I need to get up there and crack the bullwhip and make stuff start moving. And other times it's not going to do you any good. You can sit there and push on them from the sides and get stuff moving and get them going. And that's what I like to try to do, is come in, and get stuff moving along the line and stretch them out, let them string out a little bit as long as they're paired up. And if you can get them paired up and get them to string out, then you're doing some good. That's why I don't particularly like using the pickup they forget about the calf, especially on lots of heifers.
Yes, sir.
But I think you just keep working with it like you're doing. I mean,
are there situations in the crews that you've been in or the ones that you've ran? When would you shap somebody outside of a birthday?
Well, yeah.
Or did y'all do a lot of shapping?
We didn't do a lot. I know some of that. There's hazing and having fun, different things, but a lot of that. You can put a saddle on the horse, take his saddle off, put it on backwards,
Right.
and then
Put a knot in his rope.
his knot in his rope is so good. I guarantee you, that's probably better than anything is in let's go get him, and everybody take off, and he's sitting there fighting that rope. Just now he's madder than heck, and we're out there roping, and that gets to be the better part. But as far as the chapping, we haven't done much of it. We haven't. I didn't do as much. I mean, I was asked one time how old you got to be before you don't get chapped anymore, and I said, well, it depends on who's chapping you. I mean, if you got a bunch of 70-year-olds standing around fixing to get you, you might ought to go ahead and bail into them. But
All right.
I mean, sometimes it gets to be a good wrestling match. I used to wrestle a lot with some guys that worked, and you got to tell them, remember, this is a lot of people can't wrestle and not get mad about it.
Oh, man.
And they want to fight first thing. And
Yeah.
I had two big guys at a birthday party. Well, I picked up the birthday boy and threw him in the swimming pool. And he's a big guy. Well, he gets out. Well, now he's mad. Well, then his buddy is mad too. And I'm going, really? Both of you? So we got over in the grass. And I said, all right, remember, no hitting. Because if we start hitting, I'm going to knock you out. So we started wrestling. And, and they're both half my age. I had them both down and had one with their legs. Neither one of them knew how to wrestle or fight. And had them both down and, sucked them down and had them there. And I'm going, you got to learn how to play. I mean, you can wrestle without getting mad about it.
Right.
And learn something. Because that guy's, there's a few of them that wrestled in school. And gosh dang, you get a hold of a wrestler. Yeah. Gosh almighty.
Yeah.
I think you ought to have all these kids learn how to wrestle right off the bat.
Yes, sir.
All the stuff they do. I don't know about gymnastics, but I know the wrestling part of it. There's some tough kids when they start wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think, and that's just like when you get into the UFC and that kind of stuff. Well, you can tell the hard-headed boogers that are in there. Holy cow. I would hate to get a hold of one of them.
Yeah. GSP, George St. Pierre, he was in an interview and asked, like, what's the difference in the octagon and fighting on the street? And he said, on the street, there's no referee.
Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Yeah.
So now you're fighting the same kind of guy with nobody telling him to back off.
Nobody's going to stop him there.
Because running around with Cowboy, it's crazy to hear the kind of people that would try to fight him just because they think that the octagon is almost like the WWE or something. Like those skills don't translate. Kind of ridiculous in my opinion.
I'm telling you, they hadn't ever got a hold of somebody that really, is stout enough and just get a hold of them. Mm-hmm. And that guy, he's been trained. He's a trained warrior.
That's all he did every day. That was his job.
Yeah. These guys can't even think of it. Hell, they can't punch a cow every day. And they want to get over there and start that. And you're going, are you kidding?
Yeah.
There is
what about
a lot of respect for them.
Horse wrecks?
Oh, yeah.
You been in any of those?
Yeah. I got scars to prove it. I think I got 26 scars is what my sister and I added up this weekend. I had a big horse up there, Rio Pall Mall. He wasn't pulling very good, and I talked to the steer trippers up there in Omaha about, they tell me what all to do on him, get him to pull, and I had him pulling a bigger log. I got over there and he'd get to pulling. Well, he'd get mad and went to bucking with me. Well, I was tied on to the log. He couldn't buck me off. I'm tied in there. Well, he figured that out, so he flipped over. I can remember his head coming, and he hit me in the eye with his head. Went over backwards. Saddle horn just went off my chest. He got up, walked across me, stepped on my leg, walked across me. The guy that was there helping me was an intern, 16 years old, Scotty. He was changing the oil in his pickup when this happened. He runs over to me, and I was in and out, flopping around. Well, he had to put his oil filter on, put the oil in there before he could come over and get me. He didn't know how to drive a standard, and that's what I had. Well, he had a little pickup. So anyway, he got the oil in his pickup, pulled out. I don't know how he got me in there. He didn't weigh $1.25 anyway. He got me in the pickup, and we took off to Paris. Yeah, we were going to the hospital in Paris. And I kept telling him, slow down. You're going to kill us. Slow down. We were doing 35. My head was busted pretty bad, so I thought we were flying down the road, and we were going 35. We finally got there. We got in there, and we're in there, and they sewed up my head above my eye there, and sitting there, and Scotty's there with me, and he goes, I can tell now you're straight. You know what you rung you pretty good. And the nurse comes in there, and she's cleaning up a little bit, and she says, I got a personal question I need to ask you. And I said, you bet. I mean, I don't know what the hell that could be, but go ahead. She goes, is there some reason that you shave one underarm and not the other? And I looked at Scotty, and his eyes were this big. And I'm going, I don't shave my underarm. And she looked at me. I stood up, I opened up my shirt, and the hair from my underarm fell out. That saddle horn had gone across my chest and under my arm and pulled all the hair out.
Dang.
From there. And it all, when I pulled out my shirt, it all fell out on the ground. And Scotty goes, I was really nervous when she said that until that hair fell out. Well, so the next week, he got to drive me around. I mean, my head wasn't nothing compared to summertime sweating with all the hair that had been pulled out. And I'd set my arm out the window, you know, with it there. But I got that horse to pulling, and he got better and better. And Guy Miller bought him from me when I got to Borden County and made a steer tripping horse out of him, and a heading horse and a steer tripping horse out of him. But he ended up being good, but he had a hard time learning at the beginning.
Yeah.
That same horse, I had two of them in the stall, going in the stall, and I caught one, just put a rope around his neck and poured some feed in there for the older horse. I was leading that one out, and that old horse reached and bit the young horse, and I was on this side and just had the string around him, and he jumped and kicked. So he kicked me in the stomach with both feet, shot me across up against the stuff. And it took me a little while to get where I could get up and go. I got horse saddled, got him loaded. I drove 60 miles down there. We're going to work. Went to moving panels around and getting them set up for a pen. I just kept passing out and falling down. So they got there and told me God, you're not worth anything. Just go home. So I went home. I got home. I couldn't unsaddle my horse. I sat on the couch till that evening. And my wife comes home that evening and said, God, you look terrible. We'll get you something to eat. Gave me some soup. And when that soup got to my stomach, oh, man, I was in the floor. They loaded up, took me to the hospital then, and I had bled all day long, so they couldn't see what was bad and what wasn't. So they opened me up and kicked my spleen loose. So my spleen was loose. And they took it out, and it bruised up, stuff in there. So anyway, that started it right there. So I went on from there 2 years and 2 days later. And I didn't tell anybody, but October 22nd and October 24th. So October 22nd was when I got kicked. 2 years and 2 days later, the 24th, my scar tissue wrapped around my intestines and shut them off.
Whoa.
And went to the hospital in Lubbock then. I'd already been out at the Rocker. Took me to the hospital up there, and they opened me up, and they said, oh, man, it's like ivy growing through your intestines, shutting them off. And then you got all that old blood in there. We cleaned all that old blood out and got me going. Then they pumped too much fluid. The fluid wasn't coming out, and they filled my lungs up with fluid. Dr. Johnson, I think it's Larry Johnson. I think he lived at Post. He was a lung specialist. They wanted to put a tube down my throat, ventilator, and he wouldn't let them. And he cleaned me up. I bought him a pair of spurs for that. I sent him a pair of spurs for saving my life on that deal. And then after that,
he wouldn't let him, and that saved your life?
Yeah.
Why did that save your life?
Just putting oxygen down me and not putting that ventilator down me.
Oh.
So he had me in ICU and just steadily putting oxygen, drying those lungs out. Because I was stout. I mean, I was, strong.
Why do you think the ventilator would have done you?
Well, that's what he thought. He thought he's breathing. I'm still breathing. It's not like I quit breathing. You just got a lot of fluid in there.
Uh-huh.
So that's why he went to putting oxygen to me. And he ended up clearing up my lungs and then doing more of the lung exercises and that. By that time, my lungs are better now. I get out of ICU. They give me a sandwich to eat. your stomach, your intestines is like a water hose. You got it unkinked and straightened it out. You put it all back in there, well, it just kinked right back up. So now there's no scar tissue around it, but it's twisted back up. So I couldn't eat for a month. You could drink, but you couldn't eat anything. I used to open a Sprite and pour it in a glass of ice and sit there and smell it. But you couldn't drink it, But yeah, it worked on me for a while. Every time I'd eat, I'd have to stand up. Then you'd move into softer foods and then go on from there. But
how much weight you end up losing?
More than 50 pounds.
Like
I don't know how
skinny
much.
as a rail.
Oh yeah. I was nothing but a stick then. But I went to working on that, getting back around, But
yeah.
And when I was with the Spade here, probably 5 years ago, we were shipping all the cattle off one end of the ranch. And I could feel that, and I couldn't drink, I couldn't eat anything. I could feel it really hurting. I'd have to stay standing. We had 2 weeks to get the cattle off the ranch, and I'd already moved down to the other one. So I don't know if you've used any frog fuel before.
No.
Some team guys started that company, and you need to look them up, frog fuel. It'll get in your system in 20 minutes. It's completely. So I just took frog fuel, which it's, a gel type thing.
Oh, like electrolyte thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a gel in a little bag. And then I drank Gatorade. I did that for 2 weeks. Kept me alive for 2 weeks. We got through shipping cattle, got everything out of there, and my stomach twisted up. Well, once you've ever tasted bile from your stomach in your mouth, you know what it is. And anyway, when that happened, I knew. They hauled me up to Lubbock up there and went through up there, but they gave me some different stuff that'll get, clean you up. Mineral oil is what I was taking before, like you would a horse, and you just go to drinking that, and finally loosened you up enough and relaxed your intestines and got it going again. And I hadn't had any trouble with that, but you got to, every now and then you got to watch what you're eating. But once you get enough work done, that's like a zipper from my chest down where they just go in there again. And once they move everything around, put it back, it doesn't all go back in the same spot. So, but I've been good. I've been good since then. I haven't had any trouble there.
Dang.
But that was from a horse that kicked me in 88.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just kept coming back around. But anyway, you get past that after a while. But yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I had one when I was in Borden County. A guy was asking me about it here just the other day. So I used to be a sheriff there named Slick Sneed. Slick was a sheriff in Gale. And he'd retired, and his wife had passed away, and he was there. And he knew I had some dogs. I had quite a few dogs, and he had some. He'd gotten these big Alaskan Malamute dogs, great big dogs.
Uh-huh.
And on Saturday, I'd go down there hauling some trash to the dump, and Slick was down there. And I saw him. He was down in the pit down in there. I got there, and I was giving him heck about being down in there, and it was been raining. It was muddy. He's down in there, and there's some cable down there that he needed for his dog pens, some Highline cable. Anyway, I got around out in there and helped him get it out. I said, I'll bring it to your house for you. So I drug it down the road to his house. I got to Slick's house, and he goes, hey, you want to see my dogs? I said, oh, yeah, I'll see your dogs. So we went out there, and he had a set of pens. There's a set of pens, and those dogs were in those pens. Regular cow, and there's no wire on the side.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, like bull panels or anything. Nothing. It's just pipe pens. And I'm going, hot dang, these must be trained dogs staying in a pen. There's 5 or 6 dogs. I don't know. I get out there, and he opens a gate, steps in, and I come in behind him, and I swing the gate around, and I close the gate, and I back up. And the electricity running through my spurs and through my feet is just all I can stand. And I mean, it's like I'm getting electrocuted, fried. I turn and I grab Slick, and I'm falling down. And I grab Slick. Now I'm shaking. I mean, I'm shocking. He's between 65 and 70. I'm shocking the heck out of him. He had a hot wire running around the base of all those pins. And the hot wire, the dogs wouldn't go over the hot wire. They would stay. Well, when I backed up in there, my spurs hung on that hot wire.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it is giving it to me now. I take him to the ground with me, and he's screaming, and I'm screaming. I get kicked loose from the wire. I get up, and we are standing there face to face, and I'm screaming at him, and he's nervous. You know, he's a lawman. I mean, if he'd had a pistol on him, he'd have shot me already.
Yeah.
And he's standing there we're looking face to face. So the dog mounts me from behind up on top of my shoulders, and I spin around, and I've got him in a headlock. I've got him on the ground, and I'm biting him, and he's trying to bite, and he's squalling, and Slick's yelling at me. I turn the dog loose. Now both of us are just standing there looking at each other. And Slick says, I'm going to open the gate and go out. He opened the gate and went out. I go out the gate. We walk back down to his house, never saying a word. We got down there, and he's standing there. I got in the pickup. I start leaving. I forgot to take that cable off the ball of the pickup, and I start out of there, and I'm still shaking from all this. And I look back, and that cable is whacking him on the butt, jerked him down on the ground, that cable. I stopped, got the cable on. I said, sorry about that, Slick. I'm sorry. I'm leaving. Every time I'd see him at the post office, he would go the other way. He wouldn't get close to me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, that's the day the dog attacked me. And
I hope you're enjoying a ranch fuel as you're listening to this episode of Rodeo Time. Use code DALE on ranchfuel.com for 15% off, old son. Drink up and use code DALE on ranchfuel.com. Hey, old son, if you're not feeding every morning with a Can-Am side-by-side, then you ain't no cowboy. I got a Can-Am because I needed a reliable ranch rig that I could use every day because I don't know how to work on stuff like that. So I want something that's not going to break down ever. Get yourself a Can-Am, old son.
In Borden County, I mean, things that happen to you. There's a lot of static electricity there, so electricity's pretty hot. Or when it light and thunderstorm, I mean, you need to get down. And I was riding a horse there, couldn't get him in the trailer, and I thought, I'll just ride him to the other side of the ranch. And I took off, got over on the other side of the ranch, got down in there, thunderstorm coming in through there. I'd get off and hobble him, get over there, and that sucker would hop to you. It'd blow up a tree. The next thing you know, this horse that's boogering from you everywhere now is right next to you. I'm sitting on my saddle with a saddle pad on my back, and this horse has got his head up there next to me. We stayed there for a couple of hours with a thunderstorm and all, and I saddled him and rode him back home. Completely different horse after that. Dang. And then a few years later after that, I got over trying a horse at Fluvanna, Texas. And Mr. Smith there had a big horse. I was trying him, and I'm riding around in the little wheat trap he had right there by his house. He's sitting on the front porch drinking a Cowboy Budweiser. His wife's in the window washing dishes. And I'm looking at him, and lightning strikes me in the top of the head. Hits me in the head, and it's just like God had put his thumb in the top of your head, and it run down through me and then around that hot wire fence. Looked like a big ball of yarn, a big ball with red and yellow, white, and that ball was going round and round that trap and then took off down the county line, high line wires. He come, and I thought, man, I got to get off this horse. I got off. I couldn't walk. I just hit the ground. My legs wouldn't work. And the horse run backwards, and he just dragging me around in there, and he was, he had gone crazy right there, or he was acting crazy. Mr. Smith come running out there to me, got in the fence, shocked him. He got over to me, said, hey, just stay down. Don't try to get up. And it took 15 minutes or so. I finally got where I could get up, stand up. I got around there, and I told him, I need to try this horse again before I leave. He said, don't get on him. I got on him. He couldn't take it, and I couldn't either. I couldn't keep my balance. So anyway, I turned him loose in there, and I went home. I got home. I'm telling you, I could feel it through my body for a while.
Really?
Yeah. So Kenneth lives in town there, lived there in Gale. Him and his brother, or his cousin, were bringing cattle around the peak there, the Gale Mountain, a horseback, taking them to the roping arena. And there's a little thunderstorm coming by to the north of there, so they stop and wait for it to go by. And they're right there by Highway 180. And lightning hit both of them. Killed his cousin and his horse, and killed Kenneth's horse, and had him knocked out on the ground.
Wow.
He woke up, he crawled to the highway. He got to the highway, and them oil field trucks calling salt water coming by, and he goes, I knew I was there. He said, I turned back. He said, it's like a turtle crossing the road. He said, man, when you hear him come, you just turn. Well, he was on the side of the road, and then somebody stopped and picked him up and took him to the courthouse and said, hey, we found this guy on the side of the road. Anyway, they went back out there, and that's when they found his cousin. So he told me, he said, Jan, you got to be careful with that out there. And I'm thinking, it lightens now. People usually ride away from me. But, yeah, you got to have more respect for it. You don't know when you're going to get hit out there, but it doesn't have to be right on top of you.
Yeah.
And it's really not worth it staying out there in it, In East Texas, we used to ride in the thunderstorms, and it'd hit the pins and blow guys off their horse, get back on, keep working.
Yeah.
And it goes to thunder and lightning. You need to enjoy the rain. And
the only time I've been real nervous in it was when we were on the wagon staying in a teepee,
Yeah.
That's when it'd be.
Yeah, you got those
metal poles
sticking up in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good. Yeah, it may be better get underneath the wagon.
Right.
Yeah. But it will get you. I know it's changed a lot of things at the time, as far as my equilibrium and all that, and I had to work with that. And I've been working with that most of my life, as far as standing on one foot, keeping your balance, and then get where you can stand on one foot and then close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
See if you can stay standing on one foot with your eyes closed.
Dang.
We'll try that after a while, see if you can do that or
Yeah.
not. But yeah, I've been working with that ever since then. But that was Borden County. It was tough when I was there, as far as health wise for me. But great folks there.
Your story, it's kind of neat. You said you stopped by the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame. You got some family that was Texas Rangers?
Yeah. Well, we're looking into it, but there's 3 Pelums. They had told me, I had a cousin had told me about Thomas E. was down there, and I got down there and talked to him, and they didn't have any record of him. But we have records of 3 other Pelums. I'm going, no kidding. And he goes, yeah. And they looked in the roll call down through there, and the 2 of them were 1850, November 5th, 1850, and then the other one was May 5th, 1851. So they were 23, 24 years old. Then the other one, he would have been there earlier, and I don't know enough about, but it probably was earlier than, it would have been pre-47, 1847. So it had been earlier than that, and you have the Civil War going on, and then you got the Texas Mexican over there. And anyway, I don't know, they didn't have a whole lot of records on him. They talked to his wife and tried to find out something from his wife. She had already gone back to Alabama, and she said she didn't know whether he was in the Civil War or in the Rangers or where the heck he was. So anyway,
my great granddad wrote a book. I got 3 copies over there. He was 4, one of the originals, but he was a Texas Ranger, and later was a landmaster at the Spade.
Oh.
And I just thought that was neat when I texted you the other day, and you were down at the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame, and then you worked at the Spade.
At the Spade. Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah, there's lots of good history down in there.
I've got his pistol.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in a safe deposit box. But
Yeah.
but
I've got kinfolks out in Alabama, and that'd be Tom and Pete Pelham, and they've got Major John Pelham's pistol that he carried. He was Lee's artillery boy.
okay,
And my middle daughter and I went out there, and I said, we'll just go to Alabama and go to Pelum, Alabama, and see what we find. We can eat seafood for your senior trip out there and come back. And we got out there, and we didn't find anything in Pelum, Alabama, so we went on around. We got to Jacksonville, Alabama. Well, that's where he was buried. And we got up there and was in the cemetery and looking at grave and monument in there, and this van drives up. And a crew of guys get out, and they got cameras and all. And Katie goes, we got to get out of here, Dad. I said, the hell we do. We can stay here. It's a cemetery. They come up there, and there's notice we're sitting right there at Pelham's grave now. He comes over and introduced himself. And I told him I was Jason Pelham. And he goes, really? Are you here for the celebration? And I said, well, I don't know. What kind of celebration? He said, you don't know? I said, we left Texas and drove here, and we had no idea about anything. Well, he didn't believe me until he talked to Katie. And Katie said, yeah, we didn't know anything about it. He said, every 50 years they have a Pelham celebration in Jacksonville. And this was 150 years that week.
wow,
Yeah. And March 17th, I believe, is the right date. Anyway, so we stayed there. Then Katie had to go back, so she flew back, and I stayed there all week with the Pelhams, and then went to the different museums and different things. They had his pistol there. We got to hold his pistol.
wow,
And he has his binoculars in
that's
a case.
crazy.
Oh, yeah. We got to see all this. His cannons, they were shooting cannons off. They're blowing out the windows in town, so they'd get them on the edge of town. They let Tom shoot the cannon off there. And anyway, they came in, and they had everybody that's a descendant of them, like all the preachers that were there are pallbearers. Their descendants were in line. So they'd have the hearse, and then they'd have the descendants from the preachers and the descendants from the pallbearers, and then the Pelhams would go, and then they'd have more. And they went right from the square down Main Street, and then went to the cemetery and, told more about it there. And all week they've got, he was such an interesting guy. He went to West Point same time. He was 2 years older than Custer, but he was there when Custer was there.
That is a wild
He
story.
talks about when he was there, and he's got 4 or 5 books, and they have a bar there in Jacksonville, the Pelham Bar. So I took and gave them some books, and they gave me some T-shirts, and I got to stay there and celebrate with them in the backyard. They've got a fenced-in backyard, and they'd never seen a flatbed pickup before, much less bullwhips and ropes, and I got to play around there all week long and then go to the celebration. But, yeah, he was quite the interesting guy. And then later, one of the Pelhams, well, there was more Pelham, but they were on the Union side. Now, John Pelham rode with Jeb Stewart, and they had a cavalry. Well, they had cannons. He was a cannoneer, and Jeb Stewart, you can read about him and them circling around the Union and fighting and going. There's a lot of good history there that you can't. And then I've got a brother-in-law here that retired from the Navy. He's an admiral in the Navy. So I got invited to go up to the Pentagon and go there. So I went to the Pentagon with them, and while we're in there in the Hall of Honor in there, and they have a ring there, and on the wall they've got different ones. Well, there was a William Pelham on the wall in there, and anyway, there was lots of different ones, and lots of them had fought along the way. And I guess some of the Pelhams had left Alabama and went and came to Texas, and that would have been the bunch that I'm closest related to, was that bunch there. And I knew some were down there, but I just hadn't gone over there and checked on it.
That's wild.
I'll find
what are
out
the odds?
more of that. And from there, they moved back up close to Athens. Up in there is where they were. So, but we'll find out more about it. But yeah, it's There's a lot of good history in there.
Yeah,
It's a
for
lot
sure.
of fun. It's a lot of fun to, look back in through there and see. Probably some of that we won't ever know.
Right.
They didn't care anything about. They were trying to save people and keep going.
The Boones in Elida, New Mexico? Pat Boone?
No.
That ring any bells? I just didn't know if in your travels, there's some relatives of mine.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, that's wild. That's a lot of Texas history.
Yeah. I mean, my daughter teaches Texas history down at Goldthwaite. Jessica does. And I said, there's you some more history right there. I mean, if you can't make Texas history interesting, I don't know what.
Right.
I mean, you're not teaching, so I can tell you.
Yeah.
You can get about all that you can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I stopped on the way here just before outside of town. Have you been to the historical marker there on the other side of town?
On that side?
On the east side, coming from Graham?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yesterday we were cleaning out the front trap. There's a cellar there, but then next to the cellar, it's like a brick. There's a chute, an opening that goes down into like a little bitty 4 foot by 10 foot. It's like a basement, but it's made out of brick.
Yeah.
But the way it is, I think it's one of those little compartments you could hide in under a house when Indians raided.
Okay.
And they'd have like a little kind of under the floor. Like, I guess it could also be for tornadoes, but it was the way it's built. I'd heard about those, and I think it was for hiding from Indians. And sure enough, there was a raid, and that's what that historical marker talks about. But yeah, this country was. And then this little town is actually like a mining town, coal mining town. It used to be super booming with coal miners. There's pictures in the bank where there'd be just like hundreds of people just on the street, like the street lined with cars, but coal mines kind of dried up, and the town did too. And then now Brisby's here, and we're trying to populate it with interns.
Oh, yeah. I saw all of them outside there.
Yeah.
You got a few of them around
Most
there.
of them are gone right now.
Oh,
I got one took a pickup to Harper, Kansas. I'm getting a flatbed, a Butler bed, put on a pickup. One's on vacation. 2 are at a booth, the YBR finals. But we got 12 interns and then 3 other employees. And so we're trying to get this town to grow.
I'm telling you, it won't take long going that way.
Right.
Yeah, you keep going, it's going to get there. And it's...
What's your day-to-day? What do you got the rest of the week?
No, I'll be headed back north to the ranch up there. And I've been seeing my kin folks. And
What time did you leave this morning? You said you're in South Texas.
well, yeah, I was down below Waco and then went and saw my daughter. And then I came up last night and stayed at Graham last night.
Oh, dang.
Yeah,
I wish you'd told me.
Well, I didn't know for sure when I was leaving. And
Dang,
what I
I'm
was
sorry.
doing.
I got a
No.
bunkhouse, an Airbnb.
Yeah, no, that's all
Dang
right. I didn't, I usually don't have any plans. I just go along, and when I get there, I get there.
Well, you said, I didn't know where you were coming from, and you said 9 a.m., and it crossed my mind. I was like, man, I wonder if he needs somewhere to stay. But the way you were talking, it sounded like you had something going on, like family deal.
Yeah, I did.
And, So and then it kind of, I got distracted, but dang, I wished I'd have texted you when I
Well,
thought
no,
that.
that's no big
Anytime
deal.
you come through here, I got a bunkhouse and an Airbnb.
No kidding.
So,
man, that's even
wide
better.
open.
There we go. I'll have to come through here more.
Yeah.
Usually I'm this close to home. I can go. I've been probably 4 miles from Wichita Falls, so.
That's how far?
Yeah, on north from Wichita.
You only live 4 miles north of Wichita?
I mean, 4 hours. 4 hours north of there. Yeah,
Gotcha.
4 hours north of there.
Well, you should be there mid-afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I only have to do what I want to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got lots of cattle, but we got lots of good young guys working for us and taking care of stuff. So I just.
What's this contraption that you brought in that you want me to try out?
Oh, that's the damn jug. When you get to swinging it, it'll work. Let's see. Jones came up with that. years ago.
Who's Jones?
Jim Jones. He was friends with some of my family down there, and they brought me one of those jugs. And he took it to Bum Phillips when Bum was with the Oilers, and they swung it down there. And he got to where he was in his 50s, and he could swing it, and it'll work every muscle in your body from your head to your toes. So you do it barefooted, you'll dig a hole in the ground with your toes.
Dadgum.
And I've given it to different people and to try and to work on, and a lot of them it'll help them. I tore my shoulder up at the rodeo, so I don't have much rotator cuffs in there. It tore them out, and I can still swing it, and I've been working, but just in 1 year I've come so far.
Really?
Where I can actually ride with your reins out, and that trotting won't hurt. Used to, I'd have to tuck it in and hold it, or, I'd ride right-handed except I'd fall off. But, it's...
I've had collarbone and shoulder surgery, 2 surgeries
Yeah.
on this side. So,
Well, when you start swinging that, you can put, an inch of water in it and make the string shorter. Then you can work up with more water and a longer string. So I've had lots of the military guys swing that thing, and it'll sure enough make you pay attention.
well,
But,
I can't wait to try it.
Yeah, you keep it above your head and swing it, and I've had lots of people try it and work
Yeah.
with it. And my dad makes the handles. He'd make the handles and then put that swivel in the top, and we'd send them to people all over for 20 years. We've been giving them to people
That's wild.
instead of making and selling it.
So it's just a workout.
It is.
And I guess, you probably, I'm pretty, I love to be symmetrical. I can't work a right side without working a left side,
Yeah.
when I go to the gym. So I gotta, if I'm doing something one at a time, that is. And
So you swing that with your right hand on top of the stick and your left hand on bottom, and you swing
okay.
it clockwise. Then you
Okay.
swing it counterclockwise. Then you swap hands and
Oh,
put
I
your
got
left
you.
on top.
Okay,
And then go both ways.
man, that sounds like a really good
Yeah.
exercise for my shoulder.
And get your form right, and then we'll add water to it. I mean, you don't want to put enough to hurt you, but
Yeah.
then you can add water to it, and you can put as much as you want, or you can lengthen the string out, and it'll get on the end. It'll be like the old tether ball,
Yes, sir.
going around
You
the
bet.
pole. That's what it ends up.
We're gonna have CrossFitters all around the country doing this.
Yeah.
I got to go in November. I'm going to go do a podcast with Rich Froning. He's a CrossFit champ, and I'm going to take that jug. I'm going to say, Rich, I got something for you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'll dig holes in the ground. I had some folks that wanted to do more and more with it, and we just, that's not I'd rather deal with knives and cattle and horses and dogs, so I don't even do many dogs anymore.
What do you deal with knives? You just collect them, or you trade them?
No, I'm just collecting them, and you got a lot of people that using knives, and they're using the wrong knife. And after I got into knives, more and more into knives, you need to be able to take a knife and close it with one hand. Mm-hmm. Pull it out of your pocket, open and close it, and put it back in 5 seconds. I mean,
Agreed.
You get drugged. Well, not so much you're getting drugged. What if you're just tangled up and you need to get somebody else cut loose or whatever? But anyway, if you can do that, you're in you're in good shape there as far as being able to help somebody. And that's what it's really about, is helping somebody besides you working. I mean, there's no big hurry to cut a bale of hay open. So, but anyway, so that you need to go with the right type of steel in the blade. So it depends on your steel. That's probably a S30V in that one that you got. And then
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they've got others that are M390 that's a super steel. Mm-hmm. So you can just go through the different ones depending on what you want to use and what you're going to use it for. And then you can go with price difference. And then whether it's balanced or not, I mean, that gets to be the difference there,
Is yours a Spyderco?
No, this one's not. That one's not. But
How do you flip this
that's
one out?
Chris Reeves there. But
You just have
push that thumb stud out. Yeah, it's just harder to figure out once you.
Man, you got a strong thumb.
Well, yeah, you just got to figure out how to flip that one. It'll take you a bit.
Yeah.
This one here is a John Sorensen design. It's an Evolution here. That's an Evolution 2.
Same guy?
No.
Dang, they look similar.
That one actually came from Russia, but John makes some. He makes custom, semi-custom, and you had to pre-order to get into that one. But it's drop where drop shut. This one, it doesn't take much one way or the other.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah. And then they send all the extra parts with it, so you got all the parts, just depending on what you need. So, but
yeah, this knife here, I just love it. It's been, gosh darn, I wish I could find that other one. I think it's in my laundry room somewhere.
yeah. Well,
But
Protec's got a knife like that one. See, that's the one that's close to the smock. And it's got a button lock on it so you can, and it's got a flipper too. So it's close, and it's got grip, a little more texture on it.
Protec, that is a very similar knife.
Yeah.
I like how that button's kind of down in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't happen often with this one, but it will come open in my pocket.
Yes.
But I mean, like once every 6 months.
Yeah.
I can feel it. But
that's a Malibu, is what that is. And they also have it in, if you want aluminum scales. But this one's got the texture to it, and that's ends up being better there as far as what you're doing with it. So, but it's a lot like what you got. You may want to try one of these.
Yeah.
And see what you think. But I'll leave one with you and let you try it and see.
Oh, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. That'd be good.
Well, good deal. Well, we normally wrap up with life advice. Do you have some life advice for you? This is obviously maybe not so, but it is obvious. This is a part of our Texas Cowpuncher series.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe either something that's helped you in your cowboy walk or something that you would give, some advice you might give a young aspiring cowpuncher.
Well, I think a lot of those guys, I used to tell them, there's things that out there that happen that you don't even think about. Things that you never even thought about in a place that you've never seen before. So once you get in the cap rocks and start riding in the cap rocks, you go, I never knew this place was here.
Yes, sir.
I've never dreamed of that. And then you do it with people that you've never met before. So you got to keep your mind open as far as when you go to a place, you think, well, there's nothing here. There's no big deal here. You'll see this old cowboy that's sitting there at the cafe and you think he's not any big deal one way or another. You get over there and I met a young guy at the rodeo at Wichita Falls. He goes, oh, you won a buckle, did you? I said, yeah, I didn't just win a buckle. He goes, oh, you won that buckle, didn't you? I said, well, I won 6 of them. Really? I'm going, yeah. Yeah, 20 years ago, I won 6 of them over here. And you win that stuff, but they don't think of it. And when you see those guys, you can learn more in 10 minutes what took him 30 years to figure out. If you just, you need to respect those guys, just like you got John Welch and Morehouse and Bob Morehouse. I mean, you can go through a list of guys, Joe Leathers. You got lots of those guys that I've rode with that all I did was watch. Is try to watch and pay attention what they're doing. But every now and then you can start asking them questions and asking them things, and they'll start telling you. And it's usually at the end of the day when everybody's ready to go do something, if you'll sit down with him and think about what happened that day and say, could we have gathered, what should we have done different when we were gathering those cattle? They're already so far ahead of you. That's the way it was with Bud. He was asking me questions, but he already knew the answer to everything that he was asking me. I was the one that needed to say it out loud and go, yeah, I guess I could have done that. He said, yeah, you could have. The cattle would have moved better. They would have naturally flowed that away. And I'm going, I never even thought about that. He says, because you're trying to hurry up and get to the pens.
Yeah.
And we don't need to. So you need to look through a lot of that stuff. It would really help you, to sit with some of those guys and visit with them. And I always enjoyed visiting with the older guys that had already been there. I mean, just because they can't whip and ride like they used to doesn't mean that they hadn't done it more than you ever have.
Right.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, sir. It's a good point.
Yeah, because most of them have done it over and over. And when they see you do it, I mean, I see Snapchats or stuff on Instagram. He's got a calf laid down, tied. He broke the yearling, got him tied down, took a picture of him. I'm going, is that your first one? And he goes, no, it's not. I said, well, that's good. But it's not the first. It's the first one today. And I'm going, well, that's good. I mean, by 9 o'clock, we usually had 10 of them already tied down. But I can see you must start a little later. But, that it was different back then. We didn't, you get in the late 80s and 90s, we didn't have a phone. None of that stuff mattered to us.
Right.
When it rained, we all went to the Birdie's Cafe and sat there and ate lunch and drank coffee all day waiting for the old man to get there. Rube Smith would get there. He'd tell you more stories on what happened around in Borden County all his life and tell us stories on different guys that were there.
Getting around people like that, it really, drives home the saying when some people would describe a person who has, he's forgotten more about blank than you know. And it's like, oh, man, you talk to somebody who's been cowboying their entire life, and it's like there's these little nuanced things about maybe training a horse or working in a feedlot, maybe something they're not doing every day anymore, and you begin to talk to them, it's like, oh, they forgot more about this particular section of the industry than this young guy knows. And because I never did understand that saying.
Yeah.
And the kind of person you're describing is the epitome of that. You get a cowpuncher at the end of his life, and he might have forgotten more about lead changes than the new guy knows altogether.
Talking about lead changes, I know y'all talked about it before. My daughter was going for a Queen's contest in Canadian. She didn't want to do that. I'm going, they're giving away a new hat and $500. Are you kidding? I said, no, get in. So they got their buddies in there, and they got in there. And there was only 3 of them, and then it turned into wasn't any of them riding. She's riding an old dun horse of mine. And she doesn't know anything about lead changes. I had not taught her anything about lead changes, but this horse had gone and been across enough wheat pasture with sprinkler tracks that he was on point every time. She got in there and she talked. There was 2 judges from up at the college and Guthrie, and they sat in there in the arena facing each other, but inside the fence. And they had already told Jesse, you're going to do it. You're going to run it doesn't matter that the other girls quit. You're still going to do it, or you're not going to win. And she's mad now. I said, just go on in there. She takes off and goes in there, and she makes a circle. When she comes by those gals sitting in a chair, and I mean right by the chair with a horse running wide open, and she was smoking around in there. And then she got in there and went to running figure eights and just changing leads and going. Anyway, she comes over there. They talked to her, and they said that was the very best lead changes we'd ever seen. Anybody. And just kept talking to her, and if she was ready, go to college and whatnot to talk to them. She comes over, and I said, what do they say? He said, well, they're talking about some kind of lead changes. What the heck is that? And I said, well, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it. She never knew that horse was doing lead changes.
Yeah.
And here he was. But, riding in the pasture, I used to string them out. And when I had some people telling me about lead changes and turning around, and I'm going, are you kidding me? All these things that I didn't know anything about. And now you're telling me. And they're going, we thought you knew. That's why we didn't say anything. And I'm going, I don't know where I'd learned it from. I mean, but then you'd go across the pasture and you're dropping guys off, and you'd be in the left lead, and you'd think, those guys behind me, when I switch leads, one of them would drop off. Then I'd switch leads, another and drop. Most of them never paid attention to that you were swapping leads. They're just riding along behind you, and you go, that's what you're doing. You're sitting there, work your horse. Don't just sit there on him. Work your horse around while everybody's getting ready and you're getting ready to leave. Work him around. Then when you're lined out going around the outside, sit there and swap leads with them, doing different things.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's there's so many of the horse guys. Josh Owenby's one of them. I talked to him and Heath about bits or about horse. This is what he's doing. What do I need to change up on him? Or what do I need to try? And he'd send me a bit to try. Try this, see if this works. Because those guys can, sure enough, train a horse, and they know a lot about a horse, what he needs to do and what he doesn't. And the bit's helping you or it's hurting you, you know, and it's probably you're being so that dang heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And you need, and Josh would be the one to tell me, oh, God, you're so heavy-handed, you need to do this. We'll put less in there and then give you some more curb, loosen it up. Now try it. And I'm going, God, it's amazing. And he goes, yeah, we just had to adjust for you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's lots of those guys. That's why I think, going to some of these clinics, you can go to those clinics, man, you can pick up things that you would never, I don't know where you'd pick them up otherwise, besides somebody telling you. But young guys wanting to learn, it'd sure be good. But anyway.
Well, I sure appreciate you coming on.
Hey, you bet. I enjoyed being here.
It was great. Yeah. And I know we've been trying to line it up for a while. So maybe I have to have a round 2 one day soon.
Yeah. We'll come up with some more stories. We can tell you the rest of them.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, good deal. Well, thank you everybody for listening. I'm Dale Brisby. Check out rodeotime.com, and we are on to the next one.